All right, there we go. That'll be a good break for the... Okay.
And the banks were concerned that this be an ongoing business because they didn't want to have their actions bring down the whole arts structure in the city. And the donors wanted this to be a plan that could work, so that between January and the signing of the forbearance agreement, there were very earnest conversations with donors, with the operator, and with the banks over what would it look like in the future. And the 6 models that were considered in the fall were essentially reduced to what is now called the focus model, as one that meets the mission of the Overture, as well as operates within the financial parameters, which I'll talk about in a minute.
Can I ask real quick, Joe?
Certainly.
What was it about some of the other models that didn't work out so well?
One of the principal options would be to have the city own and operate. But we concluded that the donor community would be unlikely to support something run by the city, something run by the city council, something that might be subject to the vagaries of a bad year for crime, a bad year for the libraries, a bad year for snow, and put in jeopardy the Overture. So part of the conversation was we can't rely on the donations to a city business or a city plan. It has to have the ability to be nimble, the ability to sign shows on short order, the ability to respond to market forces, and that kind of a model would have to be a nonprofit that would be able to act quickly, perhaps hire and fire people of certain talent in order to be in the marketplace and to be effective.
Sweet. Did that come from kind of direct conversations with a large percentage of the donor base, or how did that come about?
I would say that the confidence in an Overture going forward was just uniformly higher if it was a not-for-profit operating the facility.
Okay. Did it have anything to do with tax write-off status for donations, anything like that? Is the city owning it any different than a nonprofit group? Was that part of it?
We didn't go down the path to try to construct a legal model of exactly how that would work, because of the very strong belief that they would not be able to raise sufficient funds from the community to contribute to essentially a municipal operation. And that was based on a lower degree of confidence that an entirely civil service organization could operate effectively in the marketplace when new shows come up, when new promoters come up, when new talent comes up, so forth and so on. So the 6 models that were looked at originally were brought down to one that was deemed to be most fiscally able to produce the results. The banks developed a high degree of confidence that this kind of a model could work if the city put a certain amount of money in on an annual basis, which is the 1.41, which was part of the final forbearance agreements, which is approximately what the contribution is now, and the city would own the facility and take care of the basic long-term capital needs. Now, between the year 2000 and 2010, the city was relieved of those obligations for the Civic Center. When the Civic Center was sold to Overture Corporation, and all of these transactions began in the year 2000, there was deferred maintenance on the Civic Center. It's been estimated between $15 and $20 million would have had to be expended within the next 5 years to meet fire codes, to meet HVAC, just building integrity. So the city, under the current proposal, has avoided paying capital costs of approximately $20+ million for the last 10 years, plus $5.8 million that they agreed to pay in the event that there was the kind of default that did occur in 2005. So there's approximately $25 million of costs the city has avoided in the last 10 years, which I think should go into weighing the pros and cons of the present proposal. In a very short order, when the plan was identified that could work, and the donors agreed that they would accept less than the $28 million, the forbearance agreement came together, which has the essential features that appeared in the newspapers. The city continues on an annual basis. It's roughly its present subsidy. The city take over ownership. The city take over the long-term capital. As part of that transaction, we at the Overture, and I'm using that generally, I'm not on the board of 201 State or any of the organizations here, but those who are working with Overture had to be confident that there could be private sector money raised to close the budget gap. The budget proposed makes a whole variety of assumptions, which are currently being examined. I found, and a variety of other people found them to be reasonable. Some are high, some are low. I think that it's a workable plan. But it still necessitates raising about $2 million a year from the private sector. Part of that is for regular ongoing expenses that are going to occur almost every year that should be the operator's responsibility. Some that only occur occasionally, such as carpets and certain lighting expenses. If you even all of that out, it's about a total of $2 million gap that would have to be raised in the private sector. Working with the Madison Community Foundation and Kathleen White, who has testified before the ad hoc group, that seems to be a figure that could be met in the community. So on roughly the 10th of June, this forbearance agreement was announced, and the city was then beginning to look at what the transaction might mean in the long run and to examine all of the matters that we preliminarily looked at in order to even to get to this point. Mm-hmm. So the Buer group, or the ad hoc group, was constituted. Some people who were fairly favorably disposed, some people who were very vigorously skeptics, and a method for bringing forward expert information, partly from consultants, partly from the community, was designed. We're about 2/3 of the way through that process. I was with Kathleen Boyd the night that she talked about the donors in the community. Stephen Wolf has come on other occasions, and so forth.
Here, let me, it's almost 7 minutes, so let me hit stop here and then we'll start again. All right.